I'm sorry, can we get the Bigfoot sound one more time without that in the background? Was Bigfoot sucking helium?
You can't prove that's not what Bigfoot sounds like. In today's video, we're revisiting our quest to attempt to make every nostalgic candy enormous. Today we're trying candy buttons.
So I got some candy buttons at the
You
store.
did.
They're the mega ones.
Mega candy buttons.
They're giant.
I imagine a lot of you have seen or had the candy button candies. It's a strip of paper with these like little neon dots on them. You usually pull some paper up with them as you try and eat them. I think the normal ones are probably just vanilla flavored.
Usually.
That's
maybe a hint of flavor.
Yeah, not a lot, maybe a little. These are some mega ones, which
and they're gourmet.
Seem to be about 4 times the size, but that's not enough for us. So we're going to see if we can make truly big ones, like we're talking the size of a hamburger. Here's the basic idea. We've looked up some recipes for how to make candy buttons at home, but instead of making the tiny ones that you go through super quickly, we're gonna see if we can make them giant. What's it like if candy buttons are the size of hamburgers? We made the giant Skittles.
We did.
That worked great.
We made a giant Tootsie Roll. We made a giant Pixie Stick.
We've made several giant candies.
We have.
I want to try this one. So, to start off, we have our giant roll of paper. And we've got some mixers, and we're gonna start mixing up batches of the recipe and hope that it works when we scale it up completely.
When we say batches of the recipe, we don't actually know what the recipe is for candy dots. However, a lot of people have attempted this online. We searched a bunch of recipes, and the one that we're finding that's closest to it that we think is both going to be edible and hold up and taste good is kind of a variation on royal icing. Royal icing is a very, very easy to make frosting, but it dries super hard. It's usually what people will use to put together like gingerbread houses or candy houses in the wintertime.
The recipe for royal icing is usually egg whites and sugar. That's pretty much it. Looking at the back of these candy buttons, ingredients are sugar, egg whites, cornstarch, which is often in powdered sugar, and artificial color. Then at the end it says there's some flavoring in there as well. So, royal icing, sugar and egg whites. The ingredients for these candy dots, sugar and egg whites. I think we've got a pretty good handle on where we're going with this. So we're gonna need a lot of sugar and a lot of egg whites.
Like a lot. All right, so the recipe is very simple. This is from Rachel Ray Everyday. In case anybody wants to look this up, Rachel Ray Everyday has a pretty fantastic recipe for candy dots or royal icing, depending on what you need it for.
1.5 cups of sugar to 1 egg white, huh?
1.5 cups confectioner sugar, 1 egg white.
I feel like we're gonna have to double that recipe for a single dot.
Yeah.
All right, so to that we need 3 cups of powdered sugar.
You want to mix it until the eggs are fluffy enough that they'll hold a bit of a peak. Doesn't need to be perfect because candy dots don't really have a peak, but let's see. Something else that I have that I can add, when my family's always made royal icing, when we make giant candy houses every Christmas.
Sorry.
Thank you. Tiny bit of cream of tartar in a large batch will also help this dry very, very quickly, and it retains the same flavor. It doesn't really affect that much, but it does affect the rigidness of your frosting. So when I say a little bit, I mean we used maybe a teaspoon to an entire bowl full. So for this, just to really speed things up, I'm using a very tiny amount.
Let's see how pink that is.
Pink, it's very pink. It is very, very, very pink.
Good.
So this is a very good sign. For royal icing, it not only held its peak, okay, there we go. Now it's kind of coming off the spoon. Oh, but it came off kind of perfectly. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that's a pretty darn good texture right there. Fun piping trick. Find a long glass tube or cup. This will hold it. So if you only have one set of hands in the kitchen, this makes your life so much easier. You can put it in there, and then as you go, you can tap it down. This way you don't end up with big air bubbles. I had Nate cut the tip off of the piping bag first, so it will all flow down smoothly, but it's not gonna make a mess on your counter, never mind. If you have Nate in the kitchen, it will still make a mess on your counter. That's okay. So then what you would want to do is not just squeeze it, you just shake, like bounce it. There you go. Let gravity get the bubbles out for you. You guys just let me know in the comments if you want me to do an entire video on piping lessons. There's a lot of fantastic videos out there.
Still not sure exactly how much we want to mix this. And like we said, we mix that too much and it has no puddling to it at all. And we want just a little bit so that the top will smooth itself out. And this looks like it is probably still puddling just a little too much. All right, we have our long piece of paper covered in just dozens of these dots, and now we have to let them dry for a while. The tops of them have actually already started to dry pretty well. If you look at these first ones that we did, you can already touch them. They aren't gonna collapse or squish or anything like that.
They're no longer shiny.
Yeah, they've lost a fair amount of their shine, but you can also see it's a little bit flexible when I poke on it there. Hopefully, they will dry completely, all the way through, so that they are just hard and crunchy. We're not entirely sure how long that's gonna take. We'll check in on them tomorrow, and if that's not enough, we'll just give them longer. Well, time for an update. These have been sitting here for about 2.5 weeks at this point. We really thought that would be enough to let them completely dry, and sort of yes, sort of no.
Some did, but not without some tragedy here. The paper itself was not really strong enough to take this, and also
some of them are still very sticky and gooey and wet on the outside, or especially on the bottom.
it doesn't even smell good. This is basically just egg that's been sitting out for how many weeks now?
Some of them we elevated up,
Yep.
put on these racks because we noticed that there was no airflow. And so the ones that we lifted up, they did dry on the bottom and maybe all the way through.
So this is my favorite part about these is it sounds like ceramic. I'm
It
trying to get it
does.
on my mic. Yeah.
We don't like the overall result.
We could do so much
We
better.
stepped on a couple of them. That was smooth.
Yep.
Some little children may have found their way down to poke occasionally. And the paper, as we were saying, it tears so easily. Like, there's tears all over that we didn't mean for there to be. And we want to be able to lift this thing up when we're done. So we've got some plans. We are going to do this again with some upgrades. Starting again, what we're gonna do, we're gonna get some more drying racks. Lots of them, and we'll get a fine grate drying rack. Like, we've got, these are literally from the oven, and you can see how big the spacing is. It left like huge marks where everything was resting. So we're gonna get some finer mesh drying racks. We're gonna lift it all up off the ground by a few inches so we have lots of airflow.
And we're also not going to be using paper next time. Yes, that's what they're technically on, but this is too much weight. So we're thinking fabric.
We're gonna go get some fairly fine mesh fabric and make it on that. Put it on the elevated drying racks, blow air on top and underneath it, and try this one more time. Because these ones that dried all the way, like,
You see this?
this one is like almost perfect.
It is.
It's
but
nice and domed, it's dry all the way through. It pulled off a little bit of the paper, which is what happens when you eat the actual candy buttons.
It's true.
But most of them did not turn out like this. Let's grab some fabric and then we can do round 2.
Here we go.
We've got our setup for the second version, which should hopefully be a lot more durable. Let's take a look at what we've got here. We've got several plastic containers upside down, and those are supporting some wire mesh. Just got this at the hardware store. It's for like fencing and stuff. And then on top of that, we've got a fairly durable white canvas cloth, and I think that's going to do just great.
And you've got a
even if
fan
it gets
set up.
wet. Yeah, so we should get so
Airflow.
much more ventilation through the cloth, through the supports. There's no plastic underneath, and then we're gonna have a fan that we can blow on it. So hopefully everything will dry better, top and bottom, and even if it is wet, then this doesn't tear. It's not just gonna fall apart when it gets wet. Version 2. I am much more confident about this
yes.
setup.
They're already peeling nicely. Of course, this isn't going to warp the same way our paper was.
So we are going to just let these dry for a while. We have a fan, so much more airflow underneath everything, I think. Like, even with these boxes that they're resting on, like, the wire is resting on these little feet. So there's even airflow, like, in between the cloth and the boxes. So hopefully these will all dry nicely, top and bottom, and stay stuck to the cloth.
Guys, it's been a few days.
Our cameraman found some actual candy dots, or at least a knockoff brand.
It's so hard to find them now. Neko, come back to us.
Before our cameraman found some, I searched online and was trying to buy some. And I got these, and as you can see, they have not stuck to the paper like at all.
That's what we're saying. It's so hard to find them right now.
Of the candy down here, and they just...
I have to open that in a minute.
Maybe.
All right.
I might just not.
I'm gonna.
All right, let's take a look at these, how they've turned out.
Feels like they're probably dry.
I'm curious about these ones that were like extra shiny for some reason. Oh, that's still
squishy?
Soft.
We had one batch that just didn't want to fully crunchify.
I don't know if I had too much sugar, not enough egg, too much color, flavor.
Okay, let's see if we can get this up onto the table.
It's heavy, but
wonderful.
There's not. I don't feel like it's a risk moving it. Like it just.
No, but Nate, they're doing what paper dots do. Oh no, they're doing exactly what paper dots do.
Well,
Look at it.
half of one decided to go for a trip. How's the inside? Is it dry or is it still mushy?
It's crunchy.
All the way through crunchy?
Yeah.
All right.
I wouldn't hit my foot, so I'm not going to eat it, but check it out. Okay, well. Oh, this one's still entirely squishy. It's fine.
Mixed with sugar this much. Yeah, that's still fairly soft on the inside. So weird that that one, like that first one, just so dry, it cracked when it hit, and then this is like a paste still. I'm sure there's an exact weight of egg white, an exact weight of sugar, and an exact time you're supposed to whip it to get just the right amount of air in, and clearly we didn't get that right every time.
We tried to use the same mix every time, but you can see some were thicker. Yeah,
yep.
Nice.
Look at that, dry all the way through, powdery.
Wow, it actually has a good flavor.
Lemon.
Compared to the actual lemon dots.
It's still, like it's dry in the middle, but it's soft, and then the outside edge is kind of like crunch.
Yeah, I actually like that.
I like when it peels off like that.
And you get the color, because whenever you tried to peel these dots as a kid, you always left some paper behind or some color. Look at that. That one just peeled like that did.
Yeah, pretty similar.
Yep.
Little bit of color. It's not peeling off paper because we did use a fairly thick cloth, but
we had that problem the first
than it falling apart.
Yep. Here we were trying different methods of trying to smooth out the surface, and we think we may have destroyed the coloring a little bit.
Stained it somehow.
Wow. Well, okay then. Okay, so these aren't fully dry yet.
Yeah, but I bet this one is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You hear that snap? Sounds like glass. Oh, wow.
Yep.
And the smell just hit me. So we ended up using grape because we ran out of blue flavors.
There were no blue flavors at the store.
Holy crunch. That was like crunchy, crunchy.
Now I'm not tasting, I'm trying our actual candy dots. The knockoff brand actually has more flavor than the originals, but given the state of the originals, that's not shocking.
If those are actually original brand, I don't know. They don't come with much labeling.
This one looks dry, but it's very thick. But this is more of one of the whipped ones. Okay, we made a hockey puck. What the heck? Oh, ow. Yep, that's about right. That's what I'm used to on a candy dot.
Are there any other candies you'd like to see us make, Giant, or just things in general? Let us know. If it sounds cool, maybe we'll give it a try. Ow!
Why would you do that?
Try and break it.
How's your hand, buddy?
So good.
Guys, this was a ton of fun, but you know we've always got more for you to see. Hit that box up at the top for our most recent video, and we'll see you in the next one. Talk to you then.